Hey, Chris Morris is here for this session too.
No, I'm going to answer that last question. I'm going to answer that last question because I actually was a culprit of that. I was actually, and Larry Dack could back me up on that. But on a serious note, heaven forbid that this should happen here at the campus. But what is actually in place if something were to happen here, like what happened at NIU and Virginia Tech?
We do have an emergency response plan that we will follow. Obviously, if in the event of a serious violent incident like that, the first call goes to 911, and they are trained to respond effectively. We will do, obviously, campus safety, we'll do our best to respond to that immediately, but the most important thing is to get those first responders on campus as quickly as possible. When we know that that 911 call then has gone out, then we will start in motion the emergency communication process in getting the word out to employees, either to avoid a particular area of campus or to evacuate or whatever the specific instructions, depending upon the event, are. So it's difficult to respond specifically because in many ways it depends on what's going on. But the primary thing to remember is if something as serious as that were to occur, the first and most important thing is to get that call into 911.
I have a question about suspicious behavior and what qualifies as suspicious behavior. I was coming in through Building C, and a couple students were like play fighting with each other, and I just stood in front of them, looked at them, and went, "Oh, really? You guys are doing that? I can't believe you're doing that here." But they continued on after I left. They didn't care what I was doing, that I addressed it. But can you explain more about what you think about suspicious behavior or students who are acting up that you were like, their behavior was childish. Did I think anyone was in danger except for them? Not really. Do I have the ability or the authority to say, stop it? Can you explain a little bit more to us as employees what some of those definitions or parameters are?
Most definitely. That's our job. So if you see something that just you even question, call 22. Call and let us know that this is going on, and we'll go over there and check it out. Let's say that, I'm going to give an example. It happened at lunchtime today, and I hope this person isn't upset with me. But we were eating lunch, and this person was by himself, and I didn't recognize him because he had glasses on. So I looked at him, and I didn't recognize him, so I went up to him, I asked him, I said, "Are you part of this group?" And he said, "Yes." It was just that I didn't recognize him. So that, to me, is suspicious behavior, and I apologize. I hope I don't offend anyone. But that's what I mean. If something's going on, you're questioning their behavior. They're talking about something like what they're going to do, or something that they have, or something that they've seen. Let us know, because that's our job, and we'll be happy to help you out. I'm trying to give another example of suspicious behavior. Little children walking alone. Children, yes. Okay, that's very good. That's very bad. Children, I'm sorry. If I started telling you some of the stories we go through in security, I'd keep you here for hours. If you see children alone, that might mean that their parents are taking a test, or their parents are in the library, or their parents are in class, and that's not permitted. And mainly because if something should happen to that child, we're indirectly responsible. So yes, that is definitely a suspicious behavior, or behavior that's not acceptable at MCC.
Other questions? I'm looking for hands.
I'd like to say one more thing. I tell the story about the 25 cents that was missing, and this person told me 25 cents was missing, and this person said that 25 cents was missing, but it's nothing. Well, by the end of the 25 cents and about 100 stories later, I found out that, you know, someone who was collecting it was making a nice profit. But if you don't tell me that that 25 cents is missing, I'll never know. The same thing with behavior. If you notice something that's different and you don't say anything, and it goes along that 5 other people notice it and they never say anything, then I won't ever know about it. So do tell us.
I think just to underscore that is that don't assume that somebody else is going to report a behavior or report an incident. We'd rather have multiple reports about the same behavior versus no reports at all about a behavior that needs to be addressed on campus. So again, don't assume that somebody else is reporting. Go ahead and take responsibility and make that report to Harriet or to myself, and we'll definitely do follow-up related to that behavior.
Any last questions?
I'm glad you said that. It just triggered that question. The question I have is, we don't even know who students are on campus, okay? Unlike the majority of us, I mean, I don't have mine on today, but most of us wear our little badges, or we even know each other by sight. My question is, what do you do even if you don't, I mean, you don't know if that's a student that you're addressing or not a student, and I want to know, does security have any control over people who, in other words, I've been in the situation where people are not actually students but caught doing something on campus here. What are the parameters there?
We would ask them for their student ID number, their name, their student ID number, and if they didn't have an ID number and they didn't have a purpose on campus, we can always call the Crystal Lake Police, and we work very well with, you know, with that agency. So yes, if there's something going on, call us. We'll come and we'll talk to them. We'll ask them for their ID number, and if they're not supposed to be here, you know, you can come to the cafeteria, the bookstore, or the library, anyone. But if you're causing trouble or a disturbance or something, then we can remove you. And I also wanted to say that Leslie and I work together. We have a database of shared information. So if you can't get to me and you can get to Leslie or vice versa, we share all of our information.
Yeah, and just to underscore that, we again, getting back to patterns of behavior and other behavior, we do have that shared database. So if you report something to Harriet and it's more appropriate that I handle it, it'll get passed along. It'll get passed along regardless, but it may be something I end up working with, or vice versa. There may be things that get reported to me that more are appropriate for Harriet or staff to handle, and we share that information back and forth and have that shared database so that we can thread together those patterns of behavior. As it relates to users of our campus facilities, whether they're students, visitors, community members, parents, whatever, all of our campus rules apply to all of those things that are in the student code of conduct apply to not only our students, but visitors as well. So we definitely have the ability to not only use the Crystal Lake Police Department as backup as needed, but we can also apply our code of conduct and our policies and procedures as it relates to students to visitors and users of our facilities.
Okay, we are actually out of time at this point. I want to thank you for your attention. I know the after lunch sessions are difficult.